In the dark, early hours just before the new dawn, the vast South China Sea lies completely still. There is absolutely no detectable wind, and the maritime region is wrapped in an eerie, heavy, profound silence. The only sound is the low, electronic hum of radar stations pulsing relentlessly across the Chinese mainland coast.
Suddenly, in a digital command center, a piercing electronic alert shatters the tense, quiet operational atmosphere. Operators watch as 7 unidentified electronic blips materialize on the extreme outer edge of their radar range. Automated systems immediately analyze the signatures, quickly flagging all 7 of the unknown contacts as definitively American.
The contacts are not patrolling. They are moving incredibly fast, tracking on a direct, intentional vector.
Within just a few short minutes, the entire Chinese Eastern Theater Command goes completely, unusually silent.
This sudden radio silence is because the United States Navy is executing a maneuver it has never done before.
It is actively, and very visibly, establishing a full naval perimeter, effectively surrounding the island of Taiwan.
The operation began as what appeared to be just a routine patrol, or so officials in Beijing thought.
However, high-resolution satellite imagery captured by orbital assets began to tell a much different, alarming story.
The images revealed 2 full carrier strike groups, led by the USS Ronald Reagan and USS Carl Vinson.
Simultaneously, the powerful amphibious assault ship, the USS America, was also spotted moving into position.
Military analysts watching this massive buildup unfold concluded these movements were absolutely not random coincidences.
Instead, they were clearly deliberate, perfectly timed, and precisely aligned strategic chess moves on a global scale.
For the analysts working inside Beijing's command structure, one central question dominated every high-level briefing room.
That pressing question was simple, yet profoundly complex. What was the United States' ultimate strategic objective? The political spark that ignited this intense military crisis, however, did not come from Washington, but from Taipei.
A high-level diplomatic delegation announced a visit, signaling a significant shift in political alignment and policy.
Within mere hours, Chinese state-controlled media erupted with furious, coordinated warnings of grave consequences for this action.
The People's Liberation Army was placed on high alert, with official statements promising a firm military response. The administration in Washington watched the escalating rhetoric, deciding to respond, but not with simple words.
Instead of diplomatic statements, the United States chose to demonstrate its firm commitment with overwhelming physical presence.
This decision highlights a fundamental truth. The most powerful statements in geopolitics are not always made in press conferences.
Often, the most effective and unambiguous message is the one that is made clearly on radar screens.
In just 48 hours, the U.S. Pacific Command activated rapid deployment Army units stationed across the region. A 3rd carrier strike group, previously engaged in training exercises, was immediately rerouted toward the volatile area. On updated satellite imagery, these massive carrier groups appeared to observers like immense, impenetrable moving fortresses. And they were supported by a screen of advanced destroyers, cruisers, and silent, unseen nuclear-powered submarines.
Intelligence analysts noted that for every known Chinese missile launcher along the Fujian coast,
There was now a sophisticated American countermeasure on a naval vessel already aimed directly back.
Inside Beijing's Central Military Commission, urgent, frantic intelligence reports were arriving by the minute from frontline observers.
Secure communications chatter between Taiwanese and American naval vessels intensified, showing deep, real-time coordination.
high-altitude reconnaissance drones flew complex surveillance patterns that Beijing's electronic warfare units simply could not jam. Worse, Chinese intelligence satellites monitoring the area began intermittently losing their signal lock on the US carriers.
In short, China's vaunted A2AD, or Anti-Access Area Denial Network, was actively, demonstrably failing. This was the exact, multi-billion-dollar system that was specifically designed to keep American naval ships away. And in this critical moment of high tension, that complex system was now effectively blind to their movements.
For the senior leadership in China, this escalating situation wasn't just a simple military problem.
It was also a profoundly embarrassing and difficult psychological one, broadcast for the entire world to see.
The strategic message being sent was clear. The United States wasn't just approaching the island of Taiwan.
From a position of overwhelming technological and military strength, it was, in effect, already there. It is crucial to understand that modern warfare is not only fought with missiles and advanced jets.
Today, the most important battles are fought over information, bandwidth, and the control of critical data.
Specialized electronic warfare ships, like the command vessel USS Blue Ridge, began flooding the entire spectrum with interference.
Almost immediately, Chinese radar stations all along the coast began displaying dozens of alarming phantom targets. Some radar screens showed visualizations of dozens of incoming hostile aircraft where there were, in fact, none.
Other critical defense system screens were overwhelmed by the electronic noise and simply went completely dark.
For a brief, terrifying moment, China's most advanced air defense systems were actively trying to fight ghosts.
And those electronic ghosts, sowing confusion and panic, belonged exclusively to the tactical U.S. Navy assets.
As the combined U.S. fleet formed its defensive perimeter around the island, 3 distinct tactical zones emerged.
First, the Western Line, led by the USS Carl Vinson, established a hard patrol guarding the Taiwan Strait.
Second, the Eastern Wall, under the USS Ronald Reagan, effectively shielded all of the Pacific entry routes.
Third, the Southern Gate, anchored by USS America, readied amphibious units near the vital Bashi Channel.
Together, these 3 powerful naval groups formed an impenetrable triangle of power, a modern steel curtain at sea.
And inside that heavily defended and secure triangle of overwhelming naval power lay the island of Taiwan.
Its status was suddenly, and very clearly, protected by American forces, rendering it safe, at least for now.
But for the leadership in Beijing, this entire operation was unfolding as a profound humiliation in real time.
Satellites from allied nations like Japan, Australia, and even commercial firms captured this entire unprecedented naval maneuver.
The resulting images broadcast to the world that the U.S. Navy could still dominate the region within hours.
China inevitably retaliated in its typical, predictable fashion, with highly publicized, aggressive, theatrical shows of military force.
Dozens of advanced J-16 and J-20 fighters scrambled from mainland bases, provocatively crossing the median line.
Footage of mobile ballistic missile launchers, the carrier killers, was paraded through all state-run Chinese media outlets. And yet, despite all the aggressive posturing and the heated rhetoric, not one single missile was launched.
Because Beijing knew the U.S. Navy had already locked targeting solutions on every coastal battery.
They understood that any genuinely aggressive move could trigger a devastating response they simply couldn't control. Behind the closed doors of the Central Military Commission, Chinese generals furiously debated their very limited options. Should they choose to attack now and risk an uncontrollable, catastrophic escalation with the United States?
Or should they choose to wait, do nothing, and consequently lose face on the entire global stage?
After weighing the disastrous potential outcomes, they ultimately, and very reluctantly, chose the path of silence. As the standoff continued to unfold, official global reactions from allied and neutral nations poured in.
In Japan, the government in Tokyo immediately activated its highest levels of emergency military readiness.
The government of Australia publicly offered its full, robust intelligence and surveillance support to the US operation.
The United Kingdom quietly deployed long-range surveillance aircraft from its strategic base at Diego Garcia.
Even the nation of India increased its own naval patrols in the critical Andaman Sea trade routes. For the very first time, the world was seeing what a modern, collective international deterrent actually looked like. This was no longer a simple bilateral confrontation. It wasn't just America versus the nation of China. It was a coalition of the democratic world, quietly but firmly, surrounding rising authoritarian ambition. Aboard the flagship USS Ronald Reagan, the ship's command center glowed with the cool, blue light of data screens. On the massive central screen, Taiwan appeared as a bright island, completely surrounded by friendly Blue Force signatures.
The fleet commander, Admiral Robert Greene, looked at the tactical display and gave a simple, clear order.
His order was concise. Hold your current position. Maintain this formation. Just keep them guessing.
For the next several hours, absolute, unbroken radio silence ruled the airwaves over the South China Sea. There were no further diplomatic threats issued from Washington, and no new warnings posted on social media. There were no additional military provocations, no aircraft crossing lines, and no ships firing warning shots.
There was only the steady mechanical heartbeat of engines and the quiet whispers of crewmen watching radar screens.
These highly trained sailors and aviators were not actively preparing for an imminent, kinetic war.
Instead, they were proving to the entire world they could end a potential war before it began.
Back in the halls of power in Beijing, that deafening tactical silence was louder than any missile launch.
The Chinese Communist Party's official state media outlets all abruptly and completely shifted their messaging focus.
They pivoted away from making threats against Taiwan, instead broadcasting news stories about regional peace and stability.
Experienced political analysts around the world immediately understood exactly what this sudden linguistic shift meant.
In the high-stakes geopolitical game of chicken, the consensus was clear. The nation of China had blinked.
This entire incident serves as a powerful reminder that true national power isn't only about raw strength. It is also about the flawless execution of timing, surgical precision, and the global control of perception. And the United States had just reminded the entire world that it still maintains control of all three. In the tense weeks that followed this significant naval standoff, both nations quietly pulled back their forces. But in the digital corridors of global intelligence agencies, this one operation quickly became the stuff of legend.
As a direct result, China massively accelerated the deployment of its new Type 003 aircraft carriers.
The U.S. Navy and Pacific Command updated their official Pacific doctrine to a new strategy called Active Shield. There were no treaties, and no new diplomatic agreements were signed following the intense near-conflict incident.
Today, on the surface, the South China Sea appears to be calm and peaceful once again.
We can observe commercial fishermen sailing their routes, while military jets continue to run their routine patrols.
But far beneath the surface, submarines from all nations still hunt and watch each other, silent predators. This activity continues because in the vast, contested Indo-Pacific, true, lasting peace is never actually permanent.
What we observe as peace is often just a temporary, tense pause between the next sets of signals.
And right now, somewhere out in that vast, endless blue expanse of ocean, a new signal is preparing. A massive American aircraft carrier turns its bow slowly, positioning itself directly into the oncoming wind. Its highly trained and efficient flight deck crew is already preparing for yet another aircraft launch. And as the engines roar to full power, the entire world holds its breath, watching once more.
This is Jet Insight Force. We are dedicated to analyzing the unseen balance of power that shapes our skies. Subscribe now, stay vigilant, and always remember, in the complex game of modern warfare, silence speaks loudest.